Hey guys, so let's kick this video off with some related meme to this topic. One Punch Man community after chapter 165. Be like, Saitama got scratched. Saitama didn't get scratched. Civil War. Now, he complains about his clothes. He remarks how Terry would notice. It's really not that odd. If Saitama felt anything, he would freak the hell out. Well, I agree with this dude. No, I don't think he would freak the hell out. I think he would be more pumped up than freaking out, like his dream fight with Subterraneans. Yeah, exactly. This dude's right. If Gar did scratch Saitama, we would see him immediately get excited. Yes, I believe so as well. Just like we'd seen in the dream. Because that dream sort of set what you'd expect when Saitama actually finds something even remotely challenging. Because I will remind you that in that instance, Saitama was still one-punching his enemies. But he did get excited because they was truly either on his level or maybe a little remotely on his level. But if he's one-punching them, then they wouldn't be on his level. But they would be remotely on his level, right? So, if someone actually posed a challenge, that's what you'd see. Even a little bit of a challenge. Even like a fragment of a challenge. Now, switching over. So I decided to remake this video in order to make it more family-friendly, with less personal insults, although he does deserve some, if not all, of what my previous video had. I still stand by the fact that he's a drama queen for taking so many personal arguments and debates with people into video making. It's like he can't just see what other people are writing as arguments and simply construct a video that only addresses those arguments without targeting someone specifically, without making it personal. Just like I've done in my first One Punch Man video, even though another drama queen like him tried to escalate things and make them personal, lying and slandering against me. But hey, he wants personal wars, he'll have them. For more information about the following, look at my pinned comment below the video. Although I've remade my video without AI, text-to-speech, I've decided to keep the robotic voice because he said that it annoyed him. Besides that, he called me spineless for not using my real voice, so does that mean he calls the other person that made a video without the real voice or any voice at all spineless? And what about camera, my friend? If you got spine and others do not, why you got a ton of videos with only your voice and no camera to show yourself? Hypocrite much? At this point, you're grasping at straws because you got nothing else. Without any other delay, let's go over my arguments against you. You accuse others of doing cherry-picking, isn't that right? Okay, let's take a look at what it means to cherry-pick. Definition: cherry-picking, suppressing evidence, or the fallacy of incomplete evidence, is the act of pointing to individual cases or data that seem to confirm a particular position while ignoring a significant portion of related and similar cases or data that may contradict that position. Now, after we've established what is considered cherry-picking, let's see who's actually doing it. 1. You use a Reddit post from someone as source to claim what Saitama was scratched. In that same source, the person behind the source states that Saitama is most likely still talking about the damage to his clothes. You ignore that part of his post because you believe it to be false. Fair enough, but you're still cherry picking. Let's take a look. This is what I referred to. Also, I'm aware Saitama was most likely just talking about his clothes. The extent of the damage is not the issue in this post. It's the translation of the sentence that Saitama uses that his post is about. He's obviously talking about his clothes. Second comment. Are you absolutely 100% sure? Because if so, this changes everything. Also, I feel like he'd have a way bigger reaction if he actually felt pain from someone else, like some inner monologue or something. Edit. Went through the thread of Murata's tweet for the new chapter, and there's no talk about Saitama taking damage from the Japanese fans. As OP suggests, it's probably just a joke about his clothes. So, I want to know here that Japanese fans, that Japanese language is their native language, they did not react to this panel and the words depicted on this panel. Why did that happen? I believe it happened because the words in this panel are not translated properly in general, or the overall context and words used do not really mean that Saitama took any damage or scratch. If it did, wouldn't the Japanese fans, the native speakers of that language, be reacting to it at all, you know? But anyway. Two, you blatantly and massively cherry pick One Punch Man, pointing to just one individual case of supposed scratch, which is not even directly stated as such, but you can claim that it's implied. A single vague case of scratch, as it keeps Saitama's face completely nonchalant, bored, and unconcerned. A situation most likely to create a very tiny illusion of stakes and hype, just like the writer tried to portray Saitama to be. And wait here so I can show you also first the instance we refer to. Right here. Ah, man. And I went and made a big deal about telling that kid I wouldn't get scratched. Now, you don't really see a scratch anywhere. His face is bored, nonchalant, not worried at all, not excited. You don't see any excitement either, you know. And, no. Let's continue. Switching this. So, just like the writer tried to portray Saitama to be A. bloodlusted and wanting to murder Garu after Garu killed Genos, yet it was thoroughly debunked multiple times afterwards, in multiple instances that proven Saitama to be unwilling to kill him. Yeah, guys, do you remember all those videos from all these YouTubers going like, oh, Saitama lost it, Saitama bloodlusted, Saitama this, Saitama is pissed. This and that, right? And let's also try to show that what we talk about. Come on, where is it? Right here. RenoZ was killed, right? Then Saitama shows up. Here you see, from this point on, people was like, oh, Saitama is pissed, Saitama is bloodlusted. Fun fact, not that I'm wanting to downplay or anything Saitama's feeling for RenoZ or anything of the sort, but here you see Saitama recalling only one instance, making only one single panel flashback with his disciple and friend RenoZ, right? Which is not even related to some sort of sentimental moment, you know? It's something regarding Saitama himself and, being on time and being a hero and this, that, something about his heroism, I guess. It's amazing how you always manage to be there on time. I guess that's a hero for you. Nah, I usually arrive too late. So, if this was a shonen series, and Saitama was a shonen character, he would obviously react like a shonen character, aka lose his mind, make sentimental recalls, flashbacks of this and that moment, of their smiles and whatever else, or cries or this and that, something, anything. And the shonen character would be like either crying, losing his mind. Like, for example, I want to draw a sort of parallel here. One Piece. When Luffy lost his quote-unquote brother Ace, or when he thought that he lost his nakamas, his friends, to Kuma, Bartholomew Kuma, if I'm correct about that. Yeah, I think it was Kuma. He pretty much lost his mind, bro. He blanked out. He was crying and shit. Oops, sorry. He was crying and was really heavy on that. Saitama is obviously not the shonen character because you do not see that from Saitama. He's not breaking down, he's not losing his mind. He's keeping his, what do you call it? He's keeping his cool, in a sense. And he continues, says, instead of saying something again about RenoZ, he says, do I really have a hero's intuition? Sure doesn't seem like it. Although, I would also argue here that he's not the only one. Like, so many heroes are arriving late. But, you know, whatever. So, now that this has been said... Oh yes, I haven't shown yes, hold on. Actually here, you see they show these in their videos. Killer Mode series punch, and they depict this image, or here, to show that Saitama is bloodlusted, is pissed and this and that. Right? And he's going to kill Garu. Right? That's what they said. That's what they pushed. And that is how also the writer kind of portrayed Saitama. Even though he portrayed Saitama in this way, right, it's debunked that he wants to kill Garu, that he's bloodlusted. Because multiple times it is said that he only wants to just beat him, not kill him, and holding back, etc., etc. To show that also. Sorry about that. So to show what I was talking about Saitama holding back. Here. Hey Baldy, know what? Pretty sure we're in one of Jupiter's moons. No idea how this happened, but we got this thing on the way back. Shut up. Make you come after I beat the shit out of you. Not kill you, beat you. Okay? And Saitama continues on, dissing and looking down on Garu, saying, bring it on, one hand is all I need for you. Obviously, Garu is not a challenge. Then fast forward, or not here, actually, let's keep it this here, let's switch over here, or here. Actually, before I show the second time Saitama says that he's unwilling to kill Garu, I want to display, right, that there was people saying that when the series Sponge Squared happened, there was only planets and stars that was destroyed, not galaxies. But you can clearly see that there are more than planets and stars in the background. It's made abundantly clear right here. You see the galaxies? Yes, there are galaxies in the background, not just planets and stars. And before that as well, never mind, I'll show it later. To prove that it happened, and it's not just photon particles that some people, or light particles that some people try to say. Actually, let's show it now, so I don't forget. Here, it shows that the part where they had basically punched a hole or blew a hole through the entire universe with that series Sponge Squared, that hole is slowly getting restored because, of the reversal of causality, just like how Saitama, future Saitama, merged with the past Saitama. Now it's also this part is getting restored. The whole. Or so it seems. Right? Now back to the second time Saitama admits do not want to kill Garu. So, God, what's wrong? Do it. Why aren't you killing me? Compared to people like you with your quick costume changes, or King, I really hate the fact that I'm not cut out for this at all. But it's because I'm a hero. Not to mention, it was also the kid's final request that I stop you without killing you. Yes, So Saitama Bloodlusted debunked multiple times. Also, since we're here, I want to show this moment. People are also trying to argue that Saitama is not a gag character. Obviously he is. Proven multiple times, but this is one of the major ones that is proven. But when Saitama was kicked to the moon from Boros, people asked, or someone asked, was it an interview or was it a tweet, maybe even in a stream, but Murata was asked, what if Saitama did not hit the moon? And Murata replied, serious fart, or simply blow the opposite direction would do the trick. It feels like Saitama is the only one living in a gag world. And a lot of people try to say that Murata was just joking, that he didn't mean it, and did all sorts of mental gymnastics to go against that statement of his. But as you can see here, it is proven Saitama farting his way through space. I want to point out that someone who tried to make some sort of calculation here about Saitama's fart, I don't know how accurate that calculation is, because, I don't know, he didn't explain every part of the process. He just gave the result. But he's kind of credible person. I think I can probably reference him. It's Kyle Hill, YouTube video maker. And so he calculated this. I would say kind of downplay calculated this because he did not consider the fact that Garu had pushed Saitama towards the opposite direction. Where is it? Yes, right about here. He did not calculate that Garu and stuff, and Saitama was going in the opposite direction. And here, Garu made a blast again, sending Saitama in the opposite direction. So he did not calculate this at all. He just used the gravity of Io and stuff. But anywho, or perhaps even Jupiter, since they're so close. I don't think he used Jupiter's gravity at all. Just Io. So, he sort of lowballed, calculated this to be at least 6 times the speed of light. Saitama's fart to be at least 6 times the speed of light. Now, past that, and I would say, I think he also calculated thinking that Saitama followed Garu through the sort of portal, the gate, or hole, whatever you want to call it. Dimensional hole. But we don't know if Saitama actually went through that hole as well, or just traveled all the way back without going through a portal, because where is it? Right here, when Garu comes out of the portal, there's no one behind. He even looked back, and there was no one behind, right? He seems to be looking back, you know? See if Saitama is followed. And then this image is shown to be by himself. Nobody else. Saying, I did it. I finally did it. I made it back. Haha, I win. And then Saitama just appears behind him with his gag face. Whoa, that move you got there is pretty nifty. But you could argue, now that I think about it though, you could first probably argue that he did go through, maybe. Since you said that move you got there pretty nifty. But is it? Did he go through it? Because again, he's not shown here. So he's probably saying how easily Garu made it here, right? Because again, Saitama is nowhere to be found. So if that is true, then Saitama with his heart made it from around Ohio back to Earth with just his fart. Now, to put it into perspective, both with his fart here and when the Serious Punch squared sent them flying, launched them to Jupiter's moon Io, this distance that they was like this distance in between for the light to travel it would take about 36-37 minutes, perhaps more, to travel this distance for light. So back then, from the Serious Punch squared, as well, quite possibly, highly likely from this instance as well. They did this within just little to no time, like tops 1-2 seconds, 3 maybe, tops, right? Tops. Which is crazy, you know? So, how much faster than the speed of light are they? A lot faster. Massively a lot faster. Quite possibly immeasurably faster. I don't know. But it's pretty impressive. Now, what do I want to show? Yes, I think I did show this part, because I'm a hero and this and that. So, we switch over to here, and we go from B, Saitama going full power statement, which was also thoroughly debunked multiple times by showing and stating Saitama to be holding back, unwilling to kill Garu, and the fact that his power is infinite dash non-stop, constant infinite growth, so there's literally no full power. Now we've seen the statements of Saitama holding back and stuff. Now let's go to the full power one. Here. Oh well, at least I can let loose at full power against a guy who can stay up. So a lot of people took it literally here and said, oh look, Saitama has a full power, right? But it's proven wrong. In this chapter, with the narration and stuff, even now, Saitama is continuing to grow. His rate of growth, which had gone unnoticed by anyone since there was nobody remotely on par with his strength. So basically, he was growing, but no one noticed it. His power was growing, but no one noticed it because nobody was remotely on par with his strength. That's what it's saying. Right? And then it says, suddenly, this continuous growth suddenly began to soar exponentially due to an upsurge of emotion like no one had ever experienced before. And this we can safely assume that is talking about the loss of his friend, or whatever you want to call it, RenoZ. So yeah, it is proven that Saitama does not have a full power from narration itself. And this also makes sense because we also have this audiobook in the past that's shown Saitama defeat his yesterday self, though you could argue that quite possibly the Hero Association machine could not really emulate Saitama and his power, that it did not have accurate data or the machine limitations, which sometimes is shown that there are machine limitations. For example, in the VR fight game between Garu and Suryu, we've seen the limitations of the machines and how it was not able to keep up with the speed of Garu's in that instance. And other times, but that's one of the times you see that. So you could argue that the machine also could not emulate Saitama. How could it? But his infinity has been proven. And fun fact, in my video years ago that I've made, I also proven and spoke about how Saitama's power is infinite, if not beyond that, because guy character. So I was proven right, and to be noted that video had came quite a bit after I already had that knowledge and argued it in some comment sections over the years, about 3 years, I would think, prior to that video that I made. So yeah. But anyway, this is just to show that I have some pretty good observation and insight to those things. And I had started to see that from the moment that the whole limiter thing was explained by Dr. Genius. People was trying to tell me, no, Satan is like these other shonen characters with infinite potential. He's not infinite, blah, 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 blah. And it was funny because they didn't make any sense. They didn't understand Satan is different. That even Dr. Genius explained that Satan is different. And like Zombie Man was trying to argue more or less the same things that these guys was arguing against Saitama. That he's like the other OPM heroes like Tatsumaki and the S-class heroes who are like surpassing themselves, their limits, or pushing their limits and surpassing themselves. But Dr. Genius said, no, you do not understand how Saitama is different. And that his power makes no sense. That is beyond common sense and stuff. So, these guys do not understand. I explain to them again and again, and they do not want to understand, apparently. Now, sorry for getting a little bit sidetracked here. But the full power was debunked, and was also something that, the writer again just tried to portray Saitama to be like, to hype the fight, to make it seem that there is some stakes there or something, Likewise, your single moment cherry picking that you do is immediately debunked, taken away and countered by the words of Cosmic Garu, pointing out that Saitama is ignoring him and thinking of Terrio. Quick switch over to show that. Oops, not that one. Here. I think this is... no. Or yes. So, here. Here I'm standing on the same endless horizon of power as you, yet you're still concerned about that brat? So besides the fact that Saitama is bored, nonchalant, whatever, he's also not focusing on the target in front of him. He thinks of Terrio, which Garu also pointed out. Again, the whole quote-unquote illusion or something of weight of like Saitama actually getting scratched or anything is taken away from this instance. And whygiveup11 tried to headcanon and say that the smudge here near his nose was like more significant than all the other smudges that Saitama had. Like, again, he's like he's cherry picking headcanon, saying that, you know, this smudge here is different and more important than all the other smudges all over Saitama's body. And he told me, you clearly see a smudge coming out of his nose. And since here we're talking about a scratch, so he pretty much says that smudge equals scratch, and that a scratch is coming out of his mouth, his nose. Like, how? Have you seen scratches coming out of anyone's nose? Because I haven't. Or maybe next time I see someone with a snot coming out of his nose, I'll be like, no, maybe it's not a snot. Let's take a closer look. Maybe it's a scratch coming out of their nose. But anyway. Back to the arguments. So you ignore not just a significant portion, but the entirety of the confrontation. Whole chapters of Saitama being stated and proven, unfazed, holding back, casually god-stomping Garu single-handedly, just childlessly playing around with Garu. Garu being a mere insect in a cage, so that no matter how much Saitama held back, Garu could not outplay Saitama even in one timeline, parallel universe, etc. And to prove that, here we go. It's merely a hypothesis based on the so-called parallel world or multiverse theory. But I suspect that this core came from one of the countless parallel worlds that diverge as a result of your actions. I do not know at what point this divergence occurs, when the observer makes a decision or when the observer takes action, but it has been confirmed that a new you, separated from the original you at the start of your time travel, and merged with the you of this timeline when the movement was completed. The timing of the separation and merging may be a clue to the timing of when the parallel worlds split off. Back to what I was saying, in the future where this core comes from, I was killed by Garu. Even if you were holding back a great deal, there's no way that you could have been outplayed by Garu. Here, see, even if you were holding back a great deal, there's no way that you could have been outplayed by Garu, no matter how many parallel worlds exist. And in fact, the events surrounding the core have made it clear that even if the worst outcome had occurred, with the death of me and all the other heroes right before your eyes, you would have transcended time and space to save us all. Your ability to transcend and manipulate the laws of causality is now proof positive of your completely flawless sense of hearing, as we've come to expect from you, Sensei. As for the principles, yada yada. And in case someone tries this, but he's hypothesizing, he's assuming. No, it says it's merely a hypothesis based on the so-called parallel world or multiverse theory. The hypothesis is based, is on that, right? On the parallel world or multiverse theory. But if you want to say that it's entirely a hypothesis, an assumption, if this entire hypothesis or assumption was wrong by any means, you would see narration interject, just like it did right next to the next page, where you see he assumes he doesn't remember, and then the narration interjects and says just isn't listening. No, this is Sensei. He might be letting the other hearers who fought bravely take credit in a modest gesture like he did with Deep Seeking. Again, the narration interjects and says, just doesn't remember. So if Janus was wrong here, right, and just being ridiculous, the narration would jump in just as it did here, obviously. But Janus is correct. I've seen you roast people that thoughtlessly post supportive comments to someone's lame argument statement about One Punch Man or something else, and yet you were caught to agree with one such person right under your video in your comment section, as you had your back handed to you and you felt desperate grasping at straws yet again. The said person supporting you claimed that the scratch happened because Saitama in that instance was weaker than Saitama after that instance, based on the whole narration that came much later in the fight. You agreed with someone, well, that someone committed something you accused me on your video, aka using a future instance to debunk and explain the previous one. And while mine is what I did is completely logical and reasonable, as I've explained, his, on the other hand, is entirely logical, and here is why I say that. Because due to Cosmic Garu's copying, Saitama and Cosmic Garu has always been in this position of them being close or remotely close in power, up to the point the narration started to explain about Saitama's power growth and exponential stuff. To showcase this, I've shown this before, but here. In these graphs, you can see that Garu, right, due to his copying and stuff, was able to sort of keep close to Saitama, sort of, right? Did I? Oh, yeah, hold on. Now you see it. So, based on these graphs, you can see that it displays Garu sort of close to Saitama. Then get close. Oh, which also proves, because there was people saying, oh no, Garu is just copying techniques, not power, blah blah blah. Well, you're wrong. Proven wrong. Now, especially so since the supposed scratch moment was merely a consecutive normal punches, without Saitama even being affected from emotions of losing Janus as such, likely for Saitama to be holding back his power output and damage he inflicts on Garu, even more than he did after Janus' death. But he wasn't scratched from higher power output attacks, How was he heard from a lower output once? And to display also that it was the consecutive normal punches, here you go, consecutive normal punches with Saitama mode and stuff. Consecutive normal punches. So you're claiming that consecutive normal punches somehow scratched Saitama while all the other attacks like serious punches, serious punch squared, and this and that, like, they did not? You make no sense, my friend. You know? Like, your argument has so many holes in it. You're cherry picking, it's illogical. Like, I don't know what goes through your mind, honestly. Let's see, both of you really make no sense and are so desperate. 3. Even if I allowed you all these massive and consecutive plus logical cherry picks that you have been doing, plus committing multiple things that you've been condemning others for, you claim that Saitama's power was retconned from past due to the newest chapters, although I've proven you wrong how that was not the case since Saitama's power has always been infinite, infinitely growing non-stop. As such, I could easily say as well that the scratch individual case that you tried to use against Saitama was also retconned from everything that happened afterwards. So yeah, just what I said, I've proven that by mentioning the removal of the limiter and all that stuff. So Saitama's power being infinite or infinitely growing non-stop has always been the case. At the very least since the limiter explanation. Last but not least, I'd like to point how ridiculous it kind of claimed. Oh yes, this I've already spoken about. Then honorable mention, not really. Someone under his video claimed that Saitama being invincible and able to one-punch anyone however strong has been retconned. And my answer is yes, he can now zero-punch them, or zero-sneeze them, or zero-fork them. To display those, fast forward. It took not one punch, but 0 punches to finish the battle. No longer One Punch Man, now he's Zero Punch Man. Plus all the fart and the sneezing, he can zero sneeze or zero fart people. I had in mind that I wanted to show something else as well. If I haven't, did I show this and explain about the clothing as well? I think I did. Right, point out how there are inconsistencies between images and stuff, and that's normal in regards to his supposed, in regards to that instance right here, where on first it's the left hand having the nose closed, but then it's the right hand that has the nose closed and stuff, coming out of water, right? So, I'm not showing it here. Coming out of water, as I was saying, he comes out with his nose closed. Here it uses the left hand, while here it switches to the right hand. Right? So, just like this is inconsistent, or looks to be inconsistent, following images, The same way is with this image that we see at one point Gar is like ripping Saitama's clothes off, and then he appears with clothes on. Also, the position of the legs is different from the previous image to the other one. And the previous image, the left leg knee and stuff appears to be higher altitude than the right one. And here we see that the right one is on a higher altitude than the left one. To also show that, I think it's in this chapter. Here we go. Here, right? You can see whirlwind arm cutting. Here, his left leg appears to be higher. His right leg appears to be lower. And here that they fixed the image of him appearing with clothes. Again, it appears his right leg now is higher instead of the left one, and his left leg lower. So there are some changes in inconsistencies with images like that. I believe we're done here. So the case is closed, and I will also follow up with images of his ridiculous posts and arguments, so you can see